Hey, good afternoon, everybody. So I was recently invited to a group, a private group of 91 members that are, we're trying to think about how we can talk to anti-gun groups and anti-gun people about firearms rights and what's going on with current gun laws and so on and so forth. So someone actually just put in a guy by the name of Carson who asked anyone have any tips to avoid the frustrating arguments that we have these days. To me, it seems like the answers are so simple and clear, but people just don't want to accept the truth. And he goes on to talk about how difficult it is to talk to anybody about this topic because of everybody having a bias. So if here's a good example. If you were to go downtown Toronto or downtown Copaconk here, where I live, it's mostly outdoors people, and you ask um, everybody on the street, do you think there should be more gun control? You're going to be surprised. Probably in Toronto, 95% of the people are going to say yes. Even here in the rural area of Ontario, you're probably going to hear numbers in excess of 50%, more than half the people, depending on who you ask. I mean, if you pick your audience and you just look for the guy wearing the North Bay dinner jacket, then you'll probably get a different answer. But I mean, just people on the street in general. So it's easy to understand why people don't support us. And then we turn around as the gun owning community, the legal firearms owners, and we try to justify our existence with statistics that they don't give a shit about, um, and get into arguments. So here's the first thing you need to do. The first thing you need to do is try to realize whether the person that you're talking to is able to accept an opinion different than their own. Okay, and a lot of us on this side of the fence are pretty guilty of not being able to accept an opinion that is different than our own. So that's the first thing that you have to do is you have to open up hey, listen, I'll have that conversation with you about my guns, but I need to know that you're willing to listen and that you're willing to accept that what I say is true because I am an expert in that area. I do understand it more so than you think I might. And then you also want to acknowledge their irrational fear of firearms. Because if you watch the media from a different point of view, and it's hard to do, this is a difficult thing to do, to look at a situation from outside of your own situation, okay? Um, every day on the news they're talking about more and more gun violence, and the mainstream media never ever ever supports our position, so therefore they're going to omit or add information that's just complete bullshit. So the average person watching mainstream media, um, reading newspapers, just listening to the radio in their car, are going to develop an irrational fear of firearms in general, because that's the agenda of the mainstream media, backed by the powers that be in government, because government wants to have control. So here's the first thing you have to do with that person is you have to acknowledge that you both have the same goal. I understand that you want more gun control. I get that 100%. I mean, I'm just as angry about what's happening uh, with firearms misuses as you are. We want violence to end. We want the exact same thing. We just believe that it can be arrived at differently. And here's the reason that I can say that. And then you've opened up a conversation. You haven't called them a libtard. We got to stop doing that, people. You got to stop. Just because someone disagrees with you doesn't make them uh, left of center. It doesn't make them a libtard. It just means that they've got bad information from a bad source. It doesn't mean we've got to get away from that. We really do. Like, I mean, I'm not going to get along very well with someone who immediately comes out and calls me a gun crazed fucking redneck. Okay, I'm not going to have a conversation with you because, first of all, you've just insulted my intelligence. Second of all, you don't know who I am. You don't know what I know. And and it's hard to get to that part too, because then everyone thinks, oh, this guy thinks he's a fucking know-it-all. Well, no, I'm not a fucking know-it-all. I'm a fucking know more than you all. That's all. That's it. I just know more about this topic because it affects my life more directly than it ever will yours. If you're never going to hunt, if you're never going to target shoot, if you're never going to have any reason that you believe you need to own a firearm, then why would you be educated on the topic? However, I shoot competition. I have shot a lot of different competition over the years. I hunt. I believe in the right to keep and bear arms. I just believe it as an inherent right. So we're on different pages that way. So let me explain to you what is entitled or what you have to do now in order to own a firearm in Canada. So that's where you want to start your discussion. And you want to go through the steps and the timeline of how long it takes to do such. You also want to go through the costs that are involved, the wait times that are involved. And then once you get that certificate, what it takes to keep that certificate, to keep that license. And explain the license. That's also a very important thing. You have to say, well, did you know that the simple possession of a firearm, any kind of firearm, in Canada, handgun, rifle, shotgun, 22, single shot, it doesn't matter, anything that shoots a projectile at 500 feet per second or faster is prohibited for anybody to own in Canada. Everybody. It's against the law for you to own anything that shoots a projectile at 500 feet per second or faster, which is pretty much every single firearm in Canada is illegal for anybody, with the exception of those who hold this license. And all this license is an exemption from prosecution. Section 91 and 92 of the Criminal Code specifically says that guns are illegal in Canada. They're already illegal. So how is making more laws going to change what's happening, right? And then start talking about the type of firearms that the cops are confiscating in these crimes, and explain to them that those guns, 90% of them, have been illegal to import into Canada since 1995. Almost every one of them. You see it every time. It's a short barrel Glock under 4 inches. It's a Beretta or something that we're not allowed to own up here. We're not allowed to take to the ranges. We're not allowed to import into Canada. They're firearms that just so how is another law going to make it more illegal? And these are the things you want to talk about. Now we want the same result. We just think that getting to that result is going to happen differently. So I know there's a lot of other things that you can say, but I think starting at the point where you agree with somebody is a lot better way than to be confrontational. I hope that helps. I hope the next time that any of you are in a conversation with somebody about firearms laws, what needs to be done, why you believe you have the right to own, and why you believe you have the right to keep your property. And you'll be able to have an intelligent conversation, and you can sway some people. You'll never sway the extreme leftists that, just basically has communist and Marxist ideas and things like that. You'll never sway that person. But they're not the people we're worried about. Again, they're a very small percentage of the population that has a strong voice. Most people are reasonable, and once they're exposed to facts that are different than what they believe, they may investigate them and they may change their opinion. I know of hundreds of people who have. So I hope that helps, and comment. Tell me what you think. Do you think that that's a better approach? I do. Have a good day.